So it's just like building a business. A race team is a business on its own. And I'll be honest with you guys. We have our own EIN number. The race team is its business. And just like any other business, when you build a business, you have to have a plan. You're going to spend a lot of money to build the business, and it's going to take a couple years before you break even or even make money.
Green flag.
Welcome to the Blind Apex Podcast, where amateur club racers tune in to get faster.
This episode is brought to you by DHWorks Fuel System. Use Apex 10 at DHWorks.com to save 10% on fueling your passion. On this episode, we're going to talk about dreams, ambitions, hustle, and an amateur race program that has to be, the best organized I've seen, at least in 2025, and planned and executed. The hustle was real, and I don't know how they did it, so we're going to find it out. So I don't want to shame anybody. I don't want to shame myself, but you need to hear this story, learn the lessons, and if you can apply some of it to your racing life, I think you'll be better off. Joining me, someone was recommended to me by Eli and Jaime, the brains, the brawn, the guy bringing you the fast Korean cars at GridLife. Apparently, he's highly caffeinated. This is news to me, but Josh from KDMTuners, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thanks, man. That was the best intro I've ever had, and I think I'm just going to carry you around in my pocket the rest of the year, so you could just tell people that as I walk in the room. That was great. Thank you.
Oh yeah, I heard your story, at least the 2025 story, and I know I want to get a bigger, broader picture, and then some lesson learns from you. But everybody should go listen to you guys at Race FF Pod. Shout out to Jaime; he's still grinding. He's a good friend of mine. He's always down. He loves taking cheap airlines out to the crappiest places on the East Coast. So, give him a listen. Support the Race FF Pod. But we were talking before I hit record. So let's get this out there. How did you get into motorsports, Josh?
Yeah, I grew up in motorsports. My dad was a professional motocross racer in the 70s. And then he had a speed shop in El Monte, California. And he built race cars and race motorcycles for all the jockeys at Santa Anita Raceway. Our last name is Sadler, which is a big name in the horse racing community. And so my father, with his last name Sadler, his name is John Sadler. And then the world famous horse jockey's name or trainer is named John Sadler. No relation, but because of the name, it opened the doors for him to gain a lot of clients for their cars. So jockeys, obviously, some of them make a lot of money. They drive a lot of fast cars. They're crazy just like the rest of us. And my dad was the one that would do all their engine swaps and maintenance. And so I grew up in diapers in my dad's shop in El Monte, California. That's kind of how I was always around it. So I didn't really have a choice. My dad ended up leaving us just through divorce and all that stuff right around like when I was 5 or so. But I always idolized him, and that part of motorsports always just kind of stayed in my soul. I was always into anything that would go faster than I can run. I was into BMX bikes, and I got into BMX racing pretty competitively and traveled the United States doing that for a while, which was fun. I got into dirt bike. We did a lot of dirt bike stuff, and then kind of dabbled in the racing stuff, but I wasn't thrilled about jumping and being 2 stories in the air. I wanted to go fast.
Me either.
Yeah, I was terrified. I wanted to go fast. Everything was like Days of Thunder. Like everything I did was always just, I wanted to be Tom Cruise, man. I wanted to go fast. I wanted the beautiful women. I wanted the thing. I wanted all of it. And then I think around 18, I bought my first motorcycle, street bike. It was an R6. And then I immediately was fast on that thing, picked it up rather quick, did a lot of canyon stuff, and then realized it was dangerous for me to be out there. I crashed 3 times in the canyon. And then I found the track life. I joined WSMC, which is Willow Springs Motorcycle Club back in the day.
Okay.
I was on an old clapped out R6. I had to go to the track. I had to borrow trucks. I had no money. I was doing construction at the time, making like $600 a week. And then I was spending $900 a week on racing. So it was, it was not a good idea.
No, the net negative is easily seen.
Correct. So I was wild and young and kind of unapproachable in a lot of ways. I had a very big ego back then. And I always was resentful to racing in the community of racing because I was like, why am I the fastest guy out here on the track, but I can't get any support? I can't get any sponsorships. I was really just isolated by myself. I was just this young, reckless, fast guy that nobody wanted to get attached to. And that was a very difficult thing for me to learn at a young age. I gave up racing completely after about 3 seasons. I couldn't afford it, and I had to go to work, so I left that.
But did you actually learn it? When did you realize that?
Not till later in life. In that moment, I didn't realize what was happening. I was just frustrated, burnout. Like, there's no way I can make it. No one gives a shit. They don't understand. I didn't understand how racing worked. I didn't understand the backside of the racing world at all. And the reality of that, right? A lot of us young guys get out there and we go fast and we're like the quick guys and we never make it, right? We never could figure out how do we get to the pro level? How do we even get to the upper echelons of the amateur levels? How do we get people to support us? How do you get sponsorships? What does sponsorships even mean? Like these things don't compute at that age. I was probably about maybe 35 years old before I realized, had the aha moment of like, oh, I never had a chance because I didn't have the people around me to mentor me to do the right things. I didn't understand how the industry worked. I didn't really understand racing other than going fast, what that even meant, right? So I figured that out about 35 years old, and it was crushing to me because I realized, like, even in the auto sports world, when I got into that I had no future in that because I was always going to be stuck hunting a trophy, and I didn't have any mechanism to do anything different. I didn't have a way to make money doing it. I was always going to have this 9-to-5 job that I hated. I was always going to be struggling to figure out how I go racing. I was always going to come home with the plastic trophy at the end of the weekend. And at the end of the day, like, what does that even really mean to me? And that's where my revelation happened around the age of 35.
Yeah. So they say, like, in NASCAR, 35 to 40 is your golden years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then, I mean, some folks like Denny Hamlin, they can still push past 40, right? But 35 to 40, that's like your last bucket. So that's hard. I don't believe people should prescribe to that. I'm 46 years old. I get faster every year from hard work and determination, right? We'll just put it at that, right? Whether I'm working on the car or working on myself, I get faster. Okay. The rules change. They help me get faster. Thanks, guys. But so age is a number, but the younger you realize what you just said, the better off you are, the more you'll enjoy this sport, the more success you'll likely have in this sport. And I believe the more the rest of this podcast, which I don't know where we're going yet, but I think the more the rest of this podcast is going to apply to you. So, yeah. So I'm glad you're a Yamaha guy like me, or you started as a Yamaha guy like me. But you didn't stick with motorcycles. So when did you start doing cars?
So I dabble in both, and I'll explain that in a second. But so I run a medical business as well. And a lot of guys around me understand that. I have KDMTuners. I have SoCal Mobile Medical Services. I operate a conglomerate of 4 different medical businesses in one. which is so all that combined and then deciding to do a race team, right? It's just a lot. But my point in that is at the time I was out drawing blood every day as a phlebotomist and I was doing home health. So I was driving a lot. I bought an EG. I was always a Honda guy, like street racing stuff. From the time I was like 15 till, I don't know, 20 something. But I took blueprinting and rebuilding classes in college. Like I knew Honda, but I built this EG. I spent about 10 grand putting this EG together. It was awesome. But at the time I couldn't drive it anywhere because it was going to get stolen. I couldn't drive it to work because it'd overheat. Like it just sucked for what I needed. So I needed a commuter car that I wouldn't mess with. And that commuter car, I saw a Hyundai Veloster, like Hot Wheels car or something. And I'm like, man, that's pretty cool. It's a race car. So I looked it up and it was the ugliest thing I ever seen not fixed up. So I thought to myself, I'm like, Hyundai is such a shit brand. Nobody's going to steal that car, even though I left the key in it. I will not fix it up because no one makes parts for this thing. I'm going to go buy that for work. So I drove down to a dealership and I said, I'm here to buy a Hyundai Veloster Turbo. They're like, hey, do you want to test drive it? I said, nope, I just want one. And they're like, do you care about color? I said, no, I don't even care about that. And so I bought the car, leaving out the driveway. I was going over the overpass and the back end got wobbly. And I'm like, I can't drive this thing. This thing needs a torsion bar back there or something. This car's junk, As I'm driving from the dealership, I'm looking up, Googling like, hey, where can I buy a torsion bar for this thing? And I found Jim Pierce in Pierce Motorsports in Torrance, California. So I drove straight to Jim, and I didn't know Jim for 5 minutes. And he said, I pull up in this, and he's got this SCCA built out Hyundai Veloster car. And I knew I was in trouble as soon as I drove up because I'm like, oh crap, there's a race car built out of this thing. I'm screwed. And he says to me, he says, hey, have you ever done a track day or anything in a car? I'm like, no, never been to track. And he's like, can I give you a proposition? I'm sure. Go ahead. He's like, if you want to come, I'm doing this track thing. It's called the Veloster Challenge. He's like, if you want to come out and I'm looking for guys that want to come out and do track days, I'll mentor you, I'll coach you. You want to come out and do this thing. If you can get within 7 seconds of my race car in your car right here, I'll build you any part you want for free. And so I'm like, well, what track are you going to? And he's like, Willow Springs, Big Willow. And I'm like, like he doesn't know, like I have a lot of experience on that track. In a motorcycle, albeit different than a car. But
you know what direction it's going. There's ripples where they are. More than people let on.
100%. So I did the calculation in my head. I said, how much is a track day? It's like $250. And I'm like, I'm in. So I just said, yeah, I'll be there. And I went. I had mud flaps on the car, the whole thing. It was like not set up at all. So long story short, I ended up getting within 7 seconds of his race car. And he was kind of pissed off because he was like, how did you do that? And I told him like, well, I used to be part of the club here. I know that I spent many a weekend here on a motorcycle. And he's like, you didn't tell me that. I said, you didn't ask. Like, so,
right.
So, and then so I went home, thought about what parts I want on the car, and I was instantly hooked at that point. I was talking to Jim through that, like about doing land speed records from, the kind of the cannonball run from New York to Santa Monica in this car and building out the whole back end as a gas tank and doing all this stuff. I had a long conversation with Jim. Jim's been in motorsports for 30 plus years as a trophy truck off-road guy. And I kind of talked to him about like racing in general and kind of like where it is. And he gave me a really good insight to the backside of what racing looked like. And instead of motivating me, it kind of crushed me because I understood now how F1 worked. I understood how IndyCar worked. I understood now how drivers got to their seats and how they didn't need to be the fastest guy out there. They needed to be the most marketable guy out there. They had to have an ability to bring funds to the program. And that was the first time I heard that drivers pay for seats. I had always thought that if you were fast enough, a team was going to come find you and like bring you in as team and pay you a bunch of money and you're going to fulfill this awesome Hollywood dream. And I finally realized in that moment that that's not the reality of racing. And that was when I kind of gave up my dream to be like a pro driver at any aspect. And I really leaned into the amateur grassroots stuff. I stayed with Jim for 5 years in the Veloster Challenge and the Hot Hatch Series. I won 5 championships out of 6. When that kind of dissolved, I put the car aside and got back into motorcycles again. I lost my passion to drive a car completely after that because for me there was nothing else to do. I couldn't go anywhere with it. I didn't have the money. There's no way I could be a professional guy unless I'd like won the lotto or something. So I went back to motorcycle riding and a lot of track days, stuff like that. And I think Eli actually did something for me that I don't think he understands he did was, the medical side of stuff is not my passion. It's my job. I'm good at that. Spent a lot of time in that. I was getting out of that. I started KDMTuners back in like 2014, 2015 from Jim telling me I should start my own company, developing parts for these cars. And I was telling Eli one day, I'm like, I think I'm going to quit my medical job and just do KDMTuners full time out of my garage and just like go racing, And Eli, I remember that day, told me, he's like, you need to stick with the medical industry, figure out how to grow that business and let someone else run it so you can go racing. And I listened to Eli on that. And fast forwarding a little bit is why you see KDMTuners and our team involved in GridLife. It's kind of how we got here. It was Eli and I started our companies to support our racing habits. And when we started our companies, it was not wrenching on our own stuff anymore. We had customers, we had timelines, we had things we had to get done, and we never went back to the track for 10 years almost. We didn't go back. So I had a conversation with AJ here at KDMTuners and said, like, look, I started this business to go racing, man, and I haven't gone racing in 10 years. Like 2025, we're going racing. I don't care if every dollar we make in KDMTuners is just a wash. We're going to pay for this season, and we're going to go do what we set out to do 10 years ago. And that's kind of how this whole thing that you guys now are watching and witnessing happened.
So that's the dedication part, right? That's the plan. There's a lot going on in there. But before we get to that, I have a question.
Sure.
That I probably should ask more people, especially the GridLife people. Just because I hear it, like on track walking sometimes, and when 10/10 finally puts out their annual podcast and stuff like that. But do you think GridLife is professional racing?
Oh boy, that is a loaded question because I know GridLife is fighting tooth and nail to not be professional racing. I know the competitors within GridLife are really struggling to want to pay the fees that they're paying now because it's not professional racing. Here's my outtake on this because I've done a lot of amateur stuff, and to be honest, I guess another question in there is why did we choose GridLife as our outlet to go racing again? We did a couple events last year. In the end, I think we did Laguna Seca, Thunder Hill, and all the West Coast stuff. And I when I got back into racing, I was told by Eli, he's like, "There's this thing called GridLife, dude, and you need to go out there and drive." And Eli gave me his car. He's like, "Here's my Rio, just go drive this thing and like." SE Cup or something like that. He's like, you're going to destroy these guys, but you need to see this GridLife thing, dude. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then, so I went to this, I teamed up with Mike Dubb he was out there with Will Drees and them doing their thing before I met them. So I went out there and I'm like, let me just be your crew for the weekend. And I went to Laguna Seca and I saw what GridLife was. And GridLife to me kind of sparked everything that motorsports was missing in my mind into this thing where like there's fans there again, there's this festival thing, there's food trucks, my kids were there having a good time. I enjoyed myself for the first time in a motorsports event in a long time. And I knew in that moment that I was screwed because this was going to be my outlet. So I went home from that event. I talked to Eli and I said, look, I'm going to do GridLife next year, and that's my outlet. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do the whole season. And to answer your question, is it pro racing? I don't think it's pro racing yet. I think GridLife has a professional platform for us amateur racers. And I think there's going to be a bridge, whether they like it or not, that there's going to be professional and amateur racing combined together at their events. I think what guys don't understand about GridLife, and this is what I caught on to immediately after being like a CEO of a company and understanding how marketing works and all that, is GridLife gave guys like me that are amateur guys a platform to feel pro, to get the vibe of what a pro event is for not pro dollars, and then also give us a platform in viewership, like by all their streaming and everything that they're doing, to really allow us teams to go out there and petition sponsors to join us and allow us to do this racing thing. And I think it's the first time in grassroots motorsports, in my opinion, that we've had this professional platform for an amateur team or an amateur driver. And I think it's hard to answer your question directly. It's not pro racing yet. There will be aspects to that, though, I think.
I couldn't have explained it better, but I wanted to tie that back to what you said about being the young, marketable person, right? They have the marketing platform. I sometimes jokingly say GridLife was a media machine. This is afterwards. I know I saw it from the beginning from Road Race Autocross Forum, how it started. But you fast forward 5 years and then you just go look at what happened. And I say it was a media machine that decided to host a track day, and then nobody reined them in ever since, right? And you have that ability, the experience, the exposure is there, right? There's fans, there's broadcasting, there's people everywhere, right? There's events going on all the time. It's family friendly. It's not just when you go to IMSA races, there's, places for your wife and kids to go while you watch races. There's things everywhere at the IMSA race, and they do the same thing at festivals. I've never seen what it looks like outside because I've never been. It's my bad, right? But when you're young and you need to realize that you need to be marketable, if you're less marketable, it might be easier there, maybe, or the competition could be stiff. I don't know. Maybe I'll get your opinion on that. But if you're in NASA or the SCCA, I believe you have to work that much harder.
Yeah, so there's a couple things to touch on immediately from what you just said. Is one, I want to say the competition at GridLife, what was a revelation to me is that there's a lot of there's some pro guys there that hide in there. There is a lot of amateur guys there that should be pros that choose not to be pros. I think with the time attack world, the James Houghtons of the world, the Will Dreeses of the world, they've been in motorsports their whole lives. They are some of the fastest drivers on the planet that choose not to be labeled as pro. It's kind of the skateboard adage, right? Like if you're a skateboarder, you're a sellout if you're a pro. And there's a little bit of a vibe to that on the amateur level, but the GridLife competition there are a bunch of killers that are just hiding under this GridLife thing. Like I got there and I was blown away by the amount of talent that was there. These are pro level guys that are just listed as amateurs. So I want to make that point real quick. The second thing is what GridLife does is something similar to what NASCAR is good at. And they're not selling stuff to the guys that are involved in motorsports. They're selling stuff to the families. They're selling stuff. They're getting the females involved. They're getting the wives jazzed up by telling a story about the teams that are involved. They have their favorite drivers. They're family friendly events. The kids are now wearing the merchandise. Like GridLife is really good about incorporating the family involved. And I think by including the festival side, they get a lot of people going out there that don't give a shit about motorsports necessarily that all of a sudden become fans of motorsports. So they're really good about that. So yeah, there's killers out here for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Houghton, Tomo, Eric, like, they're all killers, right? They've all been killers.
Yep.
You have back-to-back GLTC champion. You have a back-to-back Club TR champion. They're setting precedents now. So that's one of the things that I thought, when you get multi-year champions and multi-classes, it starts to really solidify themselves.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So you did Laguna 2024, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, and that's sort of the time where you're like, okay, we're going to go do the full season, which I think, I guess most of the people who listen to this podcast realize, but maybe not, because we're international, right? Like, explain what a full GridLife season looks like.
So I think when we said we're going to do the full season, so I'm one, like, if I say something out loud, I have to follow through. So I say we're going to do the whole GridLife season.
Amen.
Yeah, right. And then you got to remember, in 2024, there was 3 events that were on the West Coast. So I'm thinking, like, we're going to do the whole season. Like, there's 9 events, and 3 of them are going to be on the West Coast and all this stuff. So I can start touting this story about how we're going to do the whole GridLife season. And we see the schedule come out, and I'm like, oh, crap, there's one event on the West, and everything's on the East Coast. We're from California. So I'm like, well, we can't be the only guys doing this. So no big deal. So we start, I went to Liquid Moly. I know them really well. I talked to them and said, hey, we're doing this whole season. And they're like, so you're doing all 9 events? I'm like, yeah, of course. And they're just like, oh, I don't think anyone believed us until we got midway through the season, if I'm being honest. They jumped on immediately and said, if you guys pull this off, we're going to help you stronger in 2026. But they kind of just like, I don't think these guys are really going to make it to all the events. There's just no way. And
that's how agreements go, right?
Yep. Yep. And then this goes back to your, like, how do you get sponsors and how do you get people to take you seriously? Is that right there is like, when you commit to something, no matter how difficult it is, when you sign that dotted line, you finish your commitment. And as a young guy, that's very difficult to do because shit will get hard. Stuff will break. You're going to want to give up. You can't.
You did more than break, my man.
There's a Netflix series involved in us if we could tell our full story, But yeah, I think, man, we went to Toyo. We talked to Carl over there and told him what we're doing. He's called bullshit pretty quick with us. And I think he jumped on with us just to see us if we were going to actually pull this off. That was kind of like how everyone attached to us. Like, you know what? You guys are nuts. We're going to, wait, how many cars are you guys doing? Just the 1 car, right? And I'm like, no, we're going to do 2 cars. They're like, oh, you're going to do 9 events, 2 cars. You're from California in an amateur racing series. Yeah, we'll help you out just to see how this goes. I don't think we really understood what we were in for until we got to CMP, the first event. And I think that was when we realized, like, like, we made a mistake here, because how are we going to pull this off? We didn't have a huge budget. It's not like we're a bunch of rich dudes. We are the Sandlot gang that came together with a bunch of guys that just said, let's do this race season. It sounds fun. I had an RV, so I was like, I'll just use the RV to tow this thing. I went and bought a stacker so we could pull 2 cars around. Liquid Moly jumped on with us, like I said, did the wraps for us, gave us, a bunch of products. Financially, they helped us a little bit, but not. We came in really late on the budget because GridLife announced their schedule pretty late. They announced the GLGT class pretty late.
I'm aware.
So we didn't, we're kind of coming in asking for people to join our program in April, and everyone's just like, dude, our budgets were spent last October. So, yeah.
Please take note. He said October. this will probably go out in November.
Yeah.
So
You guys have
you're
till
like
like the end of Q3 for most marketing situations to be fully spent for the following year. So just when you guys are hunting sponsorships, just realize you could still hunt sponsorships after that time period, but you got to understand, be realistic with their budgets and what their ROI is going to be. They don't, I know I'm kind of sidetracking a little bit, but it's important topic is you guys, if you're hunting sponsorships, you got to understand what the return on investment is for the person sponsoring you. They really don't care too much about how you finish. You win a championship, that's great. You win a race, that's cute. Like, how do you look out there on my brand? How are you going to get the people watching you to spend money with my brand? That's like, if you can go out there and get epic shots with their name on your car and all that stuff every weekend, do the media point. That's number one. You have to have a great media team. Like, they don't care if you get last place, because when you look at a picture on the wall in their courtyard or wherever they're putting their pictures, it doesn't say this on this day I was in turn 5 but we're in P8. Nobody cares, right? So it's all about how you present yourself. That's very important on this. As far as the season goes, though, to digress a little bit, and we can get back into that topic, but yeah, we didn't know what we were in for until we got to CMP. But again, going back to, like, we said we were going to do it. We bought all the tickets like immediately up front. So there's all of them. Even the GridLife guys didn't fully believe when we said we're going to go to all of them. I think it dawned on me how much in trouble we were when I got onto the chats, in the GridLife chats, and just said, "Hey guys, we're coming from California. Just want to reach out and see what other teams are coming from California or drivers, so we can carpool across the United States together. I think it would be cool." And I got, not only did I get crickets on the question, I got people laughing. Like, in there, they just thought, you're doing what? Like, sorry, buddy, you're the only one. Like, you're probably going to win the award for like most traveled miles, which I didn't know was a thing. And at that point, I came back to the team. And I said, "Oh crap! Like, we're the only ones from California that are going to all
dedicated.
these." Yeah. And then that dawned on me, the financial mistake that I just made at that point, right? But yeah. So
okay, so you mentioned that you had a budget. Okay, I don't care about the numbers, but
yeah.
How detailed do you get with your budget?
So we had an idea. Like, when we sat down on the logistical side of it, like we just went, okay, let's see, how much does it cost for diesel? How many miles are we traveling? So we did all those calculations there and back, and we figured out what that number would be, right? So it was I think $45,000 in diesel fuel for the season is the number we came up with. That was a number of tires, right? So we started thinking, like, what's our tire strategy look like for this year? And how many tires is it going to take? And that budget ended up being around $35,000 for tires for the season. So now we're, $70,000-$80,000 in. We haven't even touched the cars yet. This is just consumables. One, to get there. Two, we have to have tires. Then we start, race fuel is only like $3,500 for the season. That was a low number, believe it or not. Then we started thinking about, like, well, shit, we got to get everyone there. So we have Jordan Wisely as a driver. We have Will as a driver. We have me as a crew guy. We always have to have, since we have 2 cars, we have to have at least a minimum of 2 crew members, which was still a very scarce number to have. And then a media guy. So everyone had to have a job, and none of us knew what to do. So not only did we have to figure out, okay, now we have airline tickets, we have hotel costs, we have food. Shit, someone's got to pay for the food. All in all, we thought we would spend about $200,000 to run this season with 2 cars and a very skeleton style crew. In hindsight, after the first, now we have solid data for the first season, and we've learned some tricks through the season to, like, cut that number in half. We were pretty spot on our projection. But the funny part is we didn't have $200,000. So that's where we go back to, like, let's just get to race 1 and see what happens. And then if we can get through race 1, let's look at what we got in the coffers and figure out how to get to race 2. And that's what we did.
We bootstrapped it.
Oh, dude. Like, we bootstrapped it. I mean, they say don't go into debt to go racing, which is impossible
I
to do.
I say it all the time.
Yeah,
Well,
we went into debt. The first year we knew we were going to. Like I'm being very honest with you guys. I probably have $80,000 in credit cards from this season alone that I got, whittling through. But that we knew that was part of our plan for this year because a lot of our commitment as a team comes in year 2 and year 3. When we go and partner with Liquid Moly, Toyo Tires, Neotech, it's not a 1-year deal. It's like, let us prove to you in year 1 that we are even capable of doing this. Year 2, we're going to ask you for more help because now you're going to see that we're serious. And year 3, we want a solid commitment. But Toyo's building out a new tire, and they're not the best tire out there right now, which it's not a secret. Liquid
were you
Moly,
guys on the Proxy R?
no, we were on so we only had a deal with them for one car for the GLGT car, and we were on the 888Rs.
Okay.
So, let me just say this. I had a lot of calls from friends when I started showing the tires show up over here, and everyone called me, sidebarred me, and just like, what are you doing? Like, why are you spending so much money on those tires? This is the worst tire you can put on that car. Like, you're going to get killed out there. And I said, I know what I'm doing, and I believe in Toyo. I said, they were the best tire at one point. They're going through a hard patch right now, and I believe they're going to be the best tire again. And I'm going to hitch my wagon to the guys that are out there struggling just like we are, and we're going to rise together and formulate multi-year partnerships. And I don't care if they're the worst tire, if their tires are exploding in every race. I don't care. We're teaming up with them because we're gonna rise together, and that's when you make your best partnerships. Anyone can run to the guy that's the best, but they're not always going to be the best, right? The guy that's got something to gain is always going to try it, like come up on the end. And I want to be part of that story. So when I tell my friends, like, that's why we did the Toyo deal, because I believe in Toyo.
The value of that relationship is exponentially higher because you both went through the hard times.
Correct.
Right?
Right.
You worked through the hard times together.
Yep.
And so there's more dedication there. And so they'll figure it out. I trust me, we have issues with the Toyo R. I get it. But it's the same issues they had with the RR when the RR first came out. They will figure it out. I have faith that they will figure it out. I'm not that upset.
I'm 100% positive they're going to figure it out.
So,
yeah. So my point in that is, like, we tie Liquid Moly, right? I know the CEO over there. We're part of the same Vistage group. I understand their marketing strategy towards motorsports and what they're doing. So for me, I'm like, if I'm going to do this, I want my friend's company on the side of our cars. What is it going to take? How do we do this, right? It was always an approach of, like, when we went into this, I knew in year 1 we're going to go in extreme debt to get through year 1 to prove a point. Year 2, we'll still be in debt, but we'll have more financial support, I believe, for year 2. And then by year 3, we're not spending any money to go racing. So it's just like building a business. A race team is a business on its own. And I'll be honest with you guys, we have our own EIN number. The race team is its business. And just like any other business, when you build a business, you have to have a plan. You're going to spend a lot of money to build the business, and it's going to take a couple years before you break even or even make money. Our goal is to never make money in this team, and if we do, we'll give it back to somebody or help the next guy. Our goal is how do we go racing and not have to go broke doing it? And that's literally what we're doing. Our mission is to tell a story. Our mission is to go out there and look professional. You know what? One thing is that drives me the most is I love, like, sports like archery, right? I'm a very big fan of archery. And then when I started competitively shooting archery, I realized that there's a lot of guys showing up in flannels and polo shirts and jeans and boots, right? And then these guys are always contacting, like, how come we can't get more money in this sport? Like, this is a sport that's been around for eons. And I'm looking at a bunch of these hee-haw asses around there going, like, you guys can't get anywhere because you look at you. Like, you guys got to elevate the sport. When I look at grassroots motorsports, the thing that pet peeves me the most is when guys go get trophies up there in flip-flops and T-shirts. Like, you guys want to grow something, we need to, like, add an element of professionalism even at the lowest levels. So I always told the team, I jokingly said this, and should have not probably said this because we crashed the first event. was I always said, like, rule number one is we have to look good doing this. Which is why our trailer and our cars match each other. I said the worst case scenario is we go out there and we look the best. Second case, that we go out there and we need the most TV time. So I said, if you guys can't win, crash. Like, because if you crash, everything stops and they got to focus on you and all the sponsorships get seen, we win. And I said that as a joke. So when we crashed at CMP, I'm like, oh shit. Like, we won the event. Literally what I said. We had the most TV time of the whole event, probably, for the wrong reason. But Will kind of looked at me as like, well, you kind of said, like, either we win or we crash. I'm like, I didn't mean it seriously. Like, but that, so that was my mentality though, is like, we're going to go out there and worst case scenario, we're going to never quit and we're going to put on a show. Like, and then I wanted to, like, kind of set an example of like how this could look like, and that a professional looking team can go out there in an amateur level. And that attracts sponsorships. And then once sponsorships start coming out to these events for one team, it makes it easier for the next team to establish itself. A lot of these guys this year, I think, looked at us as a team and think we're a lot bigger than we are. And now I'm hearing rumblings of like 2026 guys are trying to come together to like start a team, right? So now you're going to start seeing a lot of team dynamics. I'm not saying we're out there to like, we're changing everything for the better, but we went out there. And the one thing that makes me most proud of this whole season is when I get comments back saying like what you said to me earlier in the beginning of this thing is the most professional looking team in the paddocks. That was like one of our main missions, is like, because it helps the whole picture. It's not about us. It helps the whole thing look more enticing for other industry people to funnel their money through us so we can all build this thing and go racing. That's what GridLife is literally doing for everybody. I don't think a lot of people understand. So that's the point of all this, to be honest.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think you're spot on. Even though I'm guilty of stripping the race suit off, throwing basketball shorts on, definitely in flip flops, not accepting very many of those trophies behind me. But
I said that as a slam to everybody, so it like hits the heartstrings. We do it too. I give Will shit for it too, but I meant that to hurt. So if you guys are listening to that, like, you guys want to know how to get people involved, you know what the very powerful thing is for all your sponsorship is to give them a picture at the end of the event with their car, your trophy, and their suit with their logos on it. It makes it look professional. You can be the most amateur guy out there and you're up there with your award in a suit. And everyone that your family member, you put that on your mantle or anywhere you go, they're going to, oh my shit, he's a race car driver. You put a picture on the mantle of you in flip flops and a t-shirt and a trophy. They're like, oh, that's cool. It's cute. He went to do a little track thing.
Oh, you're making me want to go get my custom suit this winter. Stop it.
And you guys are spending thousands of dollars. So just to go back to your other question, is like one weekend in GridLife, you gotta think CMP. Let's do Road Atlanta, because that was our first event with two cars. Or was it our first event? No, I don't know. Whatever one it was, with two cars. We went there. So it costs, for the GLGT class, is $1,200 to entry fees. The other car was like $1,000. Now you're $2,200 just to get there. Then you just spent $1,900 to drive there in fuel. And now
it's $2,200, so they let you in the gate.
Correct.
Everything else is
correct.
There's more.
Then you got your tires, so you're going to spend about $1,000 to $2,000 in tires, depending on your tire strategy, for one car. So just so you guys know, $10,000 a weekend at a GridLife event for most of these guys, depending on where you're coming from, is a realistic number. If you're going to spend anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 to go do this thing and you win a trophy, I would argue that that picture of you up there with that trophy just cost you $5,000. Don't you want to look the best you've ever looked? Because that picture on your mantle just cost you $5,000, right?
Right. Even at my level, NASA club racer.
Yeah,
it's $2,000 now to go to an event.
Eesh. Yeah, it's expensive.
It's not cheap.
Right.
Nobody said it was cheap. No, we never started this and said it was cheap, right? but there's budgeting and planning and stuff.
Right.
But you're right. Even at $2,000, like, make it count.
I think
You're convincing me.
Yeah, we want to figure out. The beginning of this podcast was how do we help younger generations coming in here and get racing and understand the dedication, what it takes. These small things like wearing a suit when you accept your trophy make the biggest differences for everybody, because it professionalizes a non-professional situation, which then brings money, and then money into a grassroots motorsports helps that survive. I think GridLife, again, I don't want to keep going back to GridLife, but they're kind of, I wouldn't say single-handedly, but they're definitely helping the whole industry grow again. And I think what GridLife's doing is going to bleed into NASA, it's going to bleed into SCCA, and it's just going to, GTA is going to go back up again. Everyone's going to take little plays from the playbook, and we're all going to rise together. And I think that's rad.
And it's one of Adam's goals, right? So Jabbay's been on here, and it's definitely one thing he said. Like, he doesn't want to harbor animosity. He doesn't want people to be jealous. He wants racing to be better than it is today. Tomorrow, he wants it better. The day after that, he wants it even better, right? He just wants to grow racing. And I think it's in everybody's best interest. So I commend him for that. But so you guys did every single event for 2025. But I think there was one thing that helped you guys out the most. And that was were you guys housing your vehicles at Gingerman?
Yeah. So we only missed Lime Rock, and then we didn't go to Autobahn at the end. There's a reason for both. Lime, yes. So to answer your question directly, yes, we got to Gingerman, and both cars weren't working. And I was sitting there going, shit, we have to drive all the way back to California, fix the car, and then 2 weeks drive all the way back. And then James came over to talk to us, James Houghton, and he's just like, hey, have you guys ever thought of like leaving your rig out here? Like, why don't you just go talk to the guys at Gingerman? They'll probably just let you leave your stuff here. And I thought, oh, okay, that's a good idea. So I went and talked. I found Mary Beth, which is their track manager there. And I just said, hey, can we leave our trailer here? We're from California. We got to come back out here in a couple of weeks. She's like, yeah, just leave it over. She told me where to park it. No big deal. And I'm like, we got a wrench on these things too. Is like, is there a way we can like rent one of these garages that are here? And she's like, of course. Like, well, the only time you can't rent a garage is the weekend of GridLife, is what she said, because it's all GridLife at that point. So you have to leave for the GridLife event. And I said, fine. So we worked out a deal. We rented a garage. So from Gingerman all the way to the end of the season, we left all of our stuff, our RV, our rig, the cars, everything in Michigan. So that saved us going back to, like, we knew it was going to cost $200,000. Well, now we just saved $3,000 to $4,000 an event in race fuel or diesel fuel to get there. So a big chunk of our budget just got covered. It cost us money to rent the garage, but nominal compared to what it would have cost us to drive.
Yeah.
The downside to that, though,
I think the math is easy on that.
Yeah, way easy. But the side that we didn't understand there was, this is a new experience for us to leave our cars somewhere. All of our tires were here in California. So now we have to logistically figure out how we get our tires to the East Coast for every event. Not cheap to ship those suckers. We had to figure out, we blew a turbo, took the engine with it. So we had to swap the engine out. And then now, how do we get an engine over there? So now we got to, so now logistics side of, like, okay, we don't have all of our tools to work on stuff out there. We have to get everything out there for every event. And at some point, we're going to have to get it all home. And then when we go out to an event, we go out like 3 or 4 days before the event. We have 2 days to wrench in the car, and then we got to drive to the event. So realistically, it's a gift and a curse. So the gift is we save a lot of money on logistics. The curse is we have no time to work on the cars to prep them for the next race. So we kind of have what we have. We didn't have the ability to like retune a car or do anything, pull weight out of a car. We had what we had, and the goal was to finish top 5 if we could in GLGT and top 5 in street. But yeah, Gingerman that was a big learning. This whole thing has just been a giant learning thing. So if anyone listening to this thing is like, how do I do this? Right. I think next season we just saved ourselves a lot of money. So now we already have a plan. Like we're going to go out to CMP or whatever the first event is. We're probably going to not run all the events next year. We'll probably like maybe skip Road Atlanta or maybe hit Road Atlanta if we can leave the rig at like CMP. So maybe I'm going to ask the guys at CMP, can we leave our rig at the track for a couple weeks, pay them to do it maybe, drive up to Gingerman, leave our stuff there, do all the East Coast stuff there. Because from Gingerman, everything's 4 hours, 6 hours, 2 hours. I think the farthest one's like Connecticut was like 8-hour drive. Now we just saved like 50% on the budget as far as the fuel costs go. So that was huge to figure that out, especially coming from California. So Gingerman was huge for us. We didn't do all 9 events this year. We didn't go to Lime Rock. We crashed again. This time we didn't win the televised award there because our crash was not shown on TV, which was I'm glad for. We hit the wall at Road America in the kink at about 130 miles an hour, and then that car was gone completely. Will was okay, luckily. But after that event, we decided, like, is this it for the season? Do we just throw in the towel, or do we figure out a way to get another car somehow? Is that ridiculous to think in street class? So my daughter's birthday was the same weekend as Lime Rock. Jordan had a 24-hour race with Champ Car on that weekend as well. We didn't have a second car. We didn't know what we were going to do. We didn't know if that was the end of the season or what. So we paused on Lime Rock to like gather ourselves. And then we did the calculations and realized that there was a possibility we could still win the championship in street class. And then it got real because then we're like, we need a car. And then they're like, well, if we're going to do this, we have to win the last 3. So what do we need to win the last 3? And then we gathered ourselves. We found a DCT Elantra N. We had a lot of other cars we could have used for street class. We decided to finish it in an Elantra N on how we started. It made the most sense. And then, and so from Lime Rock, we skipped that one. We ended up putting a car together in a couple of weeks, really. And we trailered it out to Michigan, fixed the other car, the Veloster. Then we went out to Chicago with high expectations that we were going to win the street class. It was really deflating because we didn't even get close. We didn't even make the shootout. The car wasn't ready. The tune was off. And then we had another discussion. It was like, is that it? Like, we can't win the championship now. We didn't realize we can even get second place in the championship or be in second place, or even like we ended up in third place overall at the end of the championship, which is in street class, which is amazing for us. We didn't realize that was a reality until around Chicago. We started doing the math and we realized that Thunder Hill wasn't listed on the points like it should have been. It's a bit of a controversy right now. Everyone's a little upset with it. But yeah, we won Thunder Hill. So we had 25 points that were not shown in the points. So once they added that back, they realized they made a mistake by not putting Thunder Hill as event 1 for 2025. Now it put us in second place in the points going into Laguna. So the only one we skipped was Lime Rock. We went to Laguna. We did well in Laguna, of course. It's our home track. We knew at that point we couldn't do better than we're still in second place after Laguna, but going into pit race, we knew Holst and Halka were there. There's nothing we can do. We knew Coons had to get second place with a track record to throw us off third place, which is going to be almost impossible with those 2 other gentlemen driving. So we opted not to go to pit race because financially there was no incentive for us to go out there to improve on our situation or our position. So we only did 7 events this year of the 9.
So what I'm hearing is you had to be flexible.
Yes.
With your schedule, even though you had a plan. And it was as ambitious as it was. 7 is still remarkable. You were overcoming adversity, but the whole time, I think this is another thing. Like, some people get trapped in budget. Some people get trapped in points, and you were able to have that like enterprise view that said, hey, let's do the math. Let's actually see what is the bang for the buck and what's left and what can we do and how can we do it and what's our best shot. And I think that's a big thing, and I know that comes with age, unfortunately.
Yeah. We're all older guys, so that's definitely that was the age play for sure.
Yeah. So that's for the younger crew. Like, the earlier you can learn the whole picture, looking at the whole picture, the less likely you can get in way over your head. You can easily get in over your head. We're racing, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest. But yeah,
I think though, there's another aspect to this is the team dynamic, right? These decisions don't happen with one mind. These decisions happen with all of us sitting around a table and having these discussions, and we all have different of opinion. But when we look at it with like 4 or 5 collective minds and really weigh out what everyone's capable of doing and willing to do, that's where the magic happens. So I think that's the power of having a team of individuals working on a project versus the one guy that's in his truck that throws his car on the trailer and does everything himself, right? So we're lucky for that.
That's that stupid stuff they made us do in school, that group work stuff. It does actually pay off eventually.
My wife always teases me because she's like, "You're that guy that always joined the groups and didn't do shit and took credit for it." And I was always laughing, but I'm like, I was always the one smart enough to like put the group together, knowing that you all were going to do the work and I didn't have to. See, that's the power of the mind of a CEO or an executive. We put the team together of bright-minded people to figure this shit out, so we don't have to do anything. Right? That's the idea.
Exactly. Absolutely. It makes our lives easier, and it puts the right people in the right place, and then things go better. So
yeah. I'm the one that always brought the chicken, right? Like if you put a group together in school and you got like, you'd find the smartest guys in your class because you knew you're going to get an A. You just have to make them happy and motivated, right? And then they'll forgive you for not doing stuff. If you just bring Kentucky Fried Chicken every day to your group events and they all forget and they love you, you're a hero. That's literally all I did with the race team. Just give these guys chicken,
they're fed.
feed them, they're happy, right? So
awesome. So 2026, you're already planning, I'm assuming.
Yeah, we after 2025 season concluded for us at Laguna, which was an epic event for us. We told ourselves we're going to take a month off and not think about cars or racing or anything. And I probably
How hard is that?
It's impossible. It didn't happen. Like we got back like that Monday. I was still driving home Monday. Will's calling me like, I have this idea, and then we're like, I haven't stopped since we got back from Laguna. We sat down with our sponsors. We reached out to everyone just to make sure they're on with us for next year. Everyone's happy with what they did. There's some minor tweaks on the socials and stuff that they want us to like focus on certain things, which is okay. Now we're hunting for which cars we're going to use for next year. We are going to do GLGT. We are going to, I'll be honest, we almost decided not to do street again. Because we have killers on our team, and we're kind of, not that street class is any less than any other class. The drivers in street class are insane. Probably arguably some of the best drivers on the whole grid. But we thought, well, why don't we just build like an unlimited car, or build like a track GT car or track mod car or something like that out of an Elantra or an N, and just really go for it and go put 800 horsepower in one of these things and see what we can do. And then some stuff happened with the rules, and then like they were going to change rules with street. Somehow we got our names dragged through the mud on that we were maybe the ones that initiated the talks, that because it's unfair for a street car to be competitive with all-wheel drive cars. And that lit a fire under us, I'm not going to lie, because we think this whole year we knew we could be competitive against all-wheel drive cars. We just didn't have the time or ability because of all the things we just talked about, the cars being at Gingerman and not having the ability to build it out to rules, not owning the cars all the time 100% ourselves, which hindered us from doing things to the car that we'd do if we just outright owned the car. So we made a point next year we are staying in an Elantra N, and we are going to go win that gosh dang championship in a front wheel drive car to prove a point. Our fire has been lit. So that's what we're doing. We're going to stay in street class next year in an Elantra N, and GLGT we're coming. It sounds like there's some IMSA teams that are coming that have been confirmed, about 5 teams. So now we're looking at the Veloster going, shit, we might be outgunned. Maybe we build another Elantra into quasi IMSA, like TCR car and run that. So we will use Gingerman again. So logistic wise, we know that a lot of, I don't know, 2026 is going to be the same idea. Is like how many races we're going to try to go to all of them. We're going to commit to all of them up front. We're going to go to the first one, and we're going to get through the first one, and then we'll figure out how we get to the second one, and we'll get to the second one, and then we're going to run the season exactly like we ran it this time, with more knowledge this time, and more actual numbers this time. And now we know exactly what to ask for when we ask for help. So I think this year is going to be great for us. 2026, I think we're the team to watch.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, early on, you guys were identified as the team to watch, in my opinion. So there's no reason not to watch you guys in 2026. My only concern, and you noted it, but if you're looking to do a Veloster, or not a Veloster, the Elantra N, GL, GT, car development while the car is at Gingerman is going to be so hard.
So the reason why we're thinking not the Veloster and doing Elantra N for GLTTs, we learned some things this year by being on the road, right? Having 2 different platforms in a situation like this is not feasible, because the amount of spare parts that you will need in each car is slightly different, so they don't swap over. Tire size, right? So our Veloster N this year is on a 315 front tire and a 275 rear. On our Elantra N, we were for most of the season outside of Laguna, we were on a 265 front and a 255. Wildly different, which means we have to have that many more wheels, that many more tires. It didn't make sense. So the reason why, and we have a lot of data on the Elantra N versus the Veloster. We know what the lap times are compared from street class to GLGT. We know if our GLGT car is running a qualifying lap of X, we know where our street class is going to end up for that weekend. Now, if we can run the same tires and we can run the same components, the only difference is like a weight difference, aero difference. But other than that, the car's power to weight for the GLGT is 9-1. So we're running right now a 331 wheel horsepower at about 2,900 pounds, and we're overweight by like 200 pounds. Our street class car is 331 horsepower, oddly enough, at 3,100 pounds. Our lap times, if we do in the street classes or what we're doing on the Veloster, are within like 1 second of each other. So our thought process is if we know how to build an Elantra N rather easy. And we know now what GLGT times need to be versus the street. And then if we can, now we'll go and put 285s on both cars in the front. We'll put 255s on both cars in the rear. The cars will be almost identical, so the parts are the same across the platform. The data is it's like running a MotoGP team at that point. We have two cars running the same data that we can overlap with 2 different drivers, so that's invaluable. We can, I think, by doing that move, we can put the car together rather inexpensively, and I believe we can fight for the championship next year in both classes if we have the same car. So that's the value of having another Elantra N. Yeah, and I saw James Houghton, he came out with a TCR car. We saw the GT4 car in that class. We realized how many seconds we need to find, and we know exactly what we need to do to find that time. And I think we have a strong plan to do that.
Just remember, he's looking for time too. So
I know.
however the number of the seconds are, you got to add some more because he's looking for the same amount. So.
I know. It'll be good. Me and James and everyone talk behind the scenes. What you guys, here's the other thing that's like you guys should probably know is within the GridLife paddock, like everyone somewhat gets along. Every class has a chat. All the drivers do communicate with each other. In some instances, we share data with each other. The idea is to look. GridLife is a show, also. So we need to make sure, as the competitors, that we are part of this show. We need to make sure that we make competitive racing. If meaning we need to grow together, sharing data, helping each other. You'll go through that paddock and see like we might be wrenching on another front wheel drive street class car that's competing against us because something broke on their car. The GLGT class, like all of us help each other constantly. James Houghton called me when I was building the GLGT car and just like, you're making a mistake. You need to do this, and here's why. So it's the community that has been built there is amazing, and it's very critical to know that, because even at the grassroots, like you guys need to make friends with each other. If you're wheel to wheels with somebody out there, you need to go say hi, go introduce yourself. The other thing that does is like they put a face. Like Adam made a good point on a podcast recently. Is like you guys all need to talk, because right now you're just a bobbing helmet in a car. Like you have no emotional tie to this character, right? But if you go share,
I don't know who it is.
Yeah, you don't know who it is. You don't trust them. You don't know like what they're gonna do. If you go sit and have a beer with this guy and figure out what his character is, when you see that car out there, you're gonna be like, oh shit, that's Bobby or whatever. And I definitely don't want to wreck him. Like, and I know he respects me, and like it's better for the sport. So do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep. Sorry, I go
All
on
right.
tangents. My bad.
No, you're good, my man. You're good, my man. I want to do the segment for 2025 with you. So,
Okay.
what you've done a lot of racing, right? So, dirt bikes, BMX, all that stuff, right? All the way up to GLGT, right? What is your favorite racer excuse?
Oh, my favorite racer excuse. I don't know. I guess the biggest excuse I see is like either it's too hard. Maybe a lot of guys are like, well, I really wanted to do that thing, but it's just too hard. I think that would be the biggest excuse. Or I didn't have tires. Like the tires are bad. Like I don't know. My tires are like 2 events old. That's a big excuse. I think is funny.
I think it's everybody's favorite excuse to use.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can work it out though.
Dude, so I
Setup
saw guys
changes
this
as
year.
the tires.
Yeah, I saw guys this year like Chris DeLucia was like same tires in GLGT for 3 events, still running the fastest, like qualified P1 with three rinse old tires. Like you'll figure it out. Don't sell yourself. Just go out there and do it, man. No excuses. Just go do it. You'll figure it out.
Yeah. The setup may change, right? Like when they're brand new and sticky, diverse 10, 15 heat cycles in, you may have to change some things. But if you're just sitting and being lazy and not working at it, it's going to hold you back. But if you're working, you can still make them work. They hold air, race on them,
100%.
So.
Yep.
Well, Josh, is there anything else we need to talk about this afternoon?
Yeah, not necessarily. I just think like I want to say like one thing that we operate on a principle with our organization and our team is like there's a saying that an old football coach said is that everything that you want is on the other side of hard, right? The only difference between us and anyone else is this, we don't quit. And if you can't make anything out of yourself if you don't start somewhere. So if you're having a hard time in this, I think that means you're in the right position. I always like to say, keep your heads down and don't look up. Instead of saying, oh, this is too difficult to do, we can't figure it out, I'll never make my dream. Just start going into it, put your head down. And then after you've been doing it for a while and getting through it, poke your head up and look back and go, man, that was hard. But never go into it saying it's too hard to do. This team for us, I hope that others create teams to come out here and do this. If they need help, like seriously, reach out. I'll give you any data or anything you need to help build something for you guys. But you just got to go do it, you know. And then business, the worst mistake you can make is tell a family member or friend your idea, because they're usually the ones to unknowingly talk you out of something. If you have a passion for racing and you want to go racing, just go do it. Just show up. You don't need a plan. You don't need the tires. You don't need a car. Go rent a car. Do whatever you got to do. Just show up to the track, make friends, and with no expectations. And before you know it, you'll be at GridLife fighting for championships, because that's kind of what happened to us. So,
oh, for sure.
Yeah.
The guys at the track, the folks at the track they're not going to talk you out of coming to the track.
Right.
So yeah, those are the guys you want to talk to, because they're going to be the ones when you're having that hard time, when you're, head down trying to push through something. They're the ones that will help give you that energy to work through whatever is going on. It happened to me this year, right? Like I'm fighting through all the drama with the car, and I didn't want to go to the track because I didn't want to be there and know what I was missing. Okay.
Right.
But when I went, I was reinvigorated, and it's so important. And the track family, the everything, your team, the way you compose your team, how your team interacts is so important. So, just remember all that stuff.
Yep. That's it. The last thing I want to say, just because a lot of people ask me, because I've been driving a long time. And when I told my family and friends that we're doing this thing, they're like, "Oh, great. Where can I watch you race?" And I'm like, I'm not actually racing. I'm the team manager of this thing, putting it together. Me and Mike were, and they're like, "Well, why? Like you're fast. Like you should be out there racing." And I thought, the reason for me, it was a bucket list thing because of everything we discussed today. I wanted to prove a point to myself that in this environment and time, that anybody with the tenacity and wherewithal to put something together can build a team and be competitive with a budget, and that it was possible at a grassroots level to put together cars and people and a team and make this all work. So I was trying to prove to myself this year that it was even possible. And that was a bucket list thing for me. So it's been very awesome to be a part of. I couldn't have done it without all the people around me. I know everyone hears my voice on these podcasts and stuff, but there's a lot of unsung heroes behind us that make this possible. Liquid Molly, Neotech, Samson Racing with their communication stuff, Toyo Tires, Koenig Wheels, like a lot of other people that have helped us. It wouldn't be possible without them. And I just want to say thank you. And thank you to everybody that watches us, that supports us, that I appreciate all of everybody, and GridLife for giving us a platform to even do this has been great. You guys doing the podcasting, like, to be honest with you, I can't wait till all you guys drop podcasts to listen to. Like, that's all I just bounce around to all your podcasts listening. And like, I without you guys, it's very difficult too. You guys are a very important part of everything we're doing in motorsports right now. So just know that. And I thank you for that too.
I appreciate it. Where can everybody find you in your socials so they can start following you if they haven't already?
Yeah. So right now the team name is Dub Moto. We don't do a lot of posts on that because it's just the structure behind things. KDMTuners, everything. So if you go on Instagram, it's KDMTuners. If you go to Facebook, it's KDMTuners. We have a YouTube channel that we did a long time ago. It's a lot of like tutorial videos. We'll start posting on there again. We have a lot of content coming out just from the race team stuff. We're doing a sizzle reel right now. A lot of people have been requesting us to do a docuseries because of all the stories and stuff that we've had going on, and more so about building teams and the nuances of like putting this all together versus the actual wheel-to-wheel stuff that we're doing. So that will be something that comes up in the future. But anything KDM Tuners, KDMtuners.com. If you guys all need parts, need suspension, roll cages. We do all of that here in Corona, California, which a lot of people don't know. We're not only KDM. It's just where we came from. We do a lot of other chassis and stuff too. So any help that anyone needs on anything from building a car to how do I build a team to just maybe even calling me to bounce some stuff off me, I'm open, man. Just call us.
Awesome, man. Josh, I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. And yeah, thanks. I can't wait to do it again. So thank you.
You'll definitely be back. Yeah.
Right.
Take care.
I love it. All right. You too, man. Thanks.
Until next time, keep working on yourself, keep working on the car, and let's get faster.